So, why is being poor so expensive? Let's try to understand how this actually works. So, let's say there is a person who has very little money. It's not because they are lazy or something like that. They are not lazy, they are not stupid, and they are not at all irresponsible. Let's say that they are just living too close to the edge. And basically, when you live too close to the edge, every small problem, even the smallest of the small problem, kind of becomes expensive. For example, let's say when your car breaks down, what happens? If it is a rich person, they try to get it fixed immediately, right? And a middle class person also might try to get it fixed immediately by using their savings. But a poor person, they kind of delay it. They kind of delay it and then they will keep on driving the car. Now, that small problem suddenly becomes a bigger problem. Now, the repair costs three times more. And people might say, why didn't you get it fixed earlier? But fixing it earlier also required money, right? So that is the trap I want to talk about. Basically, poverty punishes you for not having money at the exact moment you need the money. Same with health as well. A person feels pain, they know something is wrong, but they don't go to the doctor. Why? Why they don't go to the doctor? Because going to the doctor also requires money, right? Basically, the appointment costs money, the tests cost money, medicines cost money, missing work costs money. So what they do? They wait. They wait and then they tolerate. And they hope that it goes away. But to be honest, we know that it kind of gets worse. It kind of gets worse, and then now the treatment is even more expensive than it was in the first place. And then society says, why didn't you take care of yourself? Because survival was louder than prevention, right? So that is the psychology of poverty. When you are poor, your brain does not live in the future. It kind of lives in emergency mode, like rent is due, or food is low, or bills are waiting. Maybe someone needs help, or something is broke, or something is late, and maybe something is about to collapse. So, so people say poor people make bad decisions, or poor people take bad decisions, right? But that's not the whole picture. Many poor people are making the only decision available for them inside the pressure. So there is a difference. When you have a lot of money, or when you have money, or when you are rich, you basically have a lot of options available, so you can always choose the smartest option. So it comes down to your smartness when you have money. But when you don't have money, you choose the option that keeps today from falling apart, right? And that option is usually more expensive than tomorrow. So this is why poor people pay more always. They buy cheap shoes because good shoes cost too much money upfront, but the cheap shoes break faster. So they buy again and again and again. And then the rich person buys quality once. We know that. The poor person rents quality through repeated failure. They buy like small packs of food instead of buying like bigger bulk bags of food. Because buying bigger bulk bags needs extra cash, right? And they use payday loans because emergencies don't wait for salary. And they use late fees because they couldn't pay on time. And they use overdraft fees because account was almost empty. And they use like expensive transport because they can't afford to live near the better opportunities, right? And they stay in like bad housing because moving also requires kind of higher deposits and higher rents and stuff like that. So basically everything has a hidden poor tax. Being poor means you pay interest on survival. And the cruelest part of all is poor people are constantly judged by the people who have options, that is rich people. But I'm not saying rich people are bad. And people say just eat healthy. But healthy food also costs money, time, storage, and stable routine as well. And people say just save. Like save what? The money that disappeared before it even arrived into our accounts? And people say just learn new skills. But with what energy we should learn new skills after working all day and worrying all night? And people say just move. But like with what deposit, who should pay the deposits, and what credit score, what support system, and what safety net? And honestly, advice sounds simple when your nervous system is calm, right? But poverty does not only empty your bank account. It kind of exhausts our mind. It steals attention from us. It destroys patience. And it makes like planning feel like a fantasy or something like that. And it makes every decision emotional because every mistake has consequences. Basically, a rich person can make bad decisions and then call it a lesson. But it's not the same case for a poor person. A poor person makes one bad decision and it can suddenly become a crisis for them. So that is the difference. Money does not only buy things, money buys the room to breathe. It buys time, it buys freedom, it buys better choices, it buys the ability to say no. And it buys distance from dangerous people. It buys the power to fix problems early. So that is why being poor is like expensive. Because you are always paying for the delay, paying for the stress, paying for lack of options, paying for like short-term decisions, and paying for not having enough to choose the cheaper long-term path or something. And this is where people misunderstand poverty. Because poverty is not just about low income, or poverty is not just low margin. Poverty is mainly about like having no margin for mistakes, no margin for illness, no margin for rest, no margin for risk, and no margin for dignity. So when you are poor, you kind of live one emergency away from chaos. And when you live like that for long enough, your whole personality changes, to be honest. You kind of become reactive without you knowing, of course. You kind of become reactive, you kind of become defensive and tired and suspicious. Sometimes maybe angry, sometimes maybe numb. Because poverty teaches your body that life is not safe. So when people ask, why is being poor expensive? The answer is simple. Because the world gives discounts to people who can pay early. That is to rich people or the people who have money. And charges penalties to people who are already late, right? Basically, the person with money buys in bulk and the poor person buys in pieces. The person with money avoids interest, but the poor person borrows at the worst terms. And the person with money fixes something early, but the poor person waits until the damage spreads, right? And the person with money has choices to make, and they can always make the best choice. But the poor person has emergencies only. So stop asking like why poor people don't always make the perfect decisions or best decisions. Maybe it's better to ask, or it's better to start asking, why is survival designed to become more expensive the less money you have? Because being poor is not just having less or less money, right? It is paying more for everything while being blamed for not getting ahead.